Hi there and welcome to Central Texas Gardener. I'm Tom Spencer. When the heat is on, you're guaranteed a wildlife parade with a single fountain or a pond. Today we preview the Austin Pond Society tour to cool you off with hot ideas that our thirsty friends will appreciate. On tour, let's visit a romantic pond getaway that started with a basic backyard.
The sound of water mutes the sounds of the city wherever you go in Barbara and David Hale's garden. They love their backyard neighbors, birds on the greenbelt.
It's about 150 to 200 yards behind us, so the view is nice. In the middle of town. Yeah.
We like to imagine we're off in the middle of nowhere.
That's easy to imagine. Since their marriage in 2002, they've created a forever honeymoon oasis out of a plain Jane South Austin yard.
But just piece by piece is how we're doing it, a little at a time.
Yeah. One project, one paycheck at a time.
Nothing would grow back in this area because of the oak tree and the elm tree. There was really nothing, so I built a deck. That was my first step, just kind of bringing things out here where nothing would grow.
So we're enjoying a part of the yard now that we never really took advantage of before.
But the deck was only the starting point. Barbara had married a certified pond lover who graduated to the outdoors from indoor aquariums.
So we had started building decks, and I had this spot down here with nothing in it. We were going to grow ivy. So I said, "Sweetie, what if I put in a pond back here?" And she said, "Okay." And I dug one about 3 feet by 6 feet, and she came out and said, "Who are you burying?" So I dug this thing until I knew it looked like a pond. And it's been so fun since then. I'm glad I went ahead and did a big one.
Rather than haul off the excavated soil, David saw a chance to give the flat yard another spatial dimension with a bridge.
I built one out of treated lumber, and then a friend of mine a couple of years later said, I've got this cedar in my yard, do you want it? He picked it up from a mill and didn't know what to do with it. It was just the edges. So I'll take that. And then I had another friend who had a bunch of cedar trees in the backyard and some bent ones laying on the ground, and I said, "Ooh, could I have those?" My friends don't show me the neat stuff much anymore because I'm good at saying, "Could I have that?"
One project started as a wedding present.
When David moved in, we turned the garage into a little den area. And so we didn't have a place for all his tools and all his projects.
The frame out was done by friends for our wedding.
It was a wedding present originally.
With each addition, David staggered levels to give each spot its own entity. Barbara arranged outdoor rugs, furniture, pots, and plants to make it as comfortable and personal outdoors as inside. David bridged the spaces with a saw.
The long boardwalk, it's good old-fashioned treated lumber, but my sweetie and I went to, I think it was Jamaica, and there was a wooden walkway up through the waterfalls and stream, and they put shingles on for no slip. So I came right home, cut shingles, and now it's a no-slip walkway. Isn't that perfect?
Its destination is especially perfect, a romantic hideaway.
Starting right after Thanksgiving, a couple of years ago, I started digging a hole. And I got that thing down to 5 feet deep because I wanted 4 feet of water for koi. That's what they really need to prosper and be happy. And then I dug the other one and put in the waterfall, and in the meantime, we had done another neat vacation. And seen the thatch on the beaches.
We were kind of inspired by the tropical look, all the palapas and so forth. So
I built that and
our way to
ordered
bring
the
that
thatch.
here.
Yeah, bringing it here, because when we go and sit over there, it's a whole different place. It's really neat. I went and found a bathtub that on a house they were demolishing and put it down to hold all the filtration stuff and started stacking rocks. and ordered a 4-foot wide waterfall box, and you can turn it up or down depending on the traffic noise. You can make it loud so you don't hear anything, or you can back it down some and just have it nice and quiet when you want to read.
I like to read in the little hut, and so that's the perfect place to just sit and read.
Although they do the work themselves, they know how to find help, like through the Austin Pond Society.
We went over there to a meeting. They've got a library. You can take the books. They even have a pump that can be used to clean out the pond that they'll loan out. And the people were so nice. So for 2 or 3 years, we went to the meetings regularly and learned a whole lot about ponds.
Barbara hauled stones and pea gravel by the bag to get rid of the wispy grass once and for all.
It was just done a little bit at a time. When we first started the projects, way back at the very beginning, you could walk around trying to plant things, and pretty soon there'd be so much mud on your feet, you'd be 2 inches taller. And so it started off, okay, I need a little path that goes to the hose. So we put rocks and made it into a little path. Okay, now I can walk there without getting muddy. And then pretty soon it just grew and grew, and we put paths all over, and now you can walk anywhere in the yard without getting muddy feet.
That was our primary goal, no mud.
In front, they designed what's become a favorite neighborhood hangout. It's more inviting to come in since David and Barbara built a walkway.
We do a neighborhood block party. We've skipped a year or so, but we love to do that at least once a year and have all the neighbors come over.
Plus, everyone can get a close-up look of Barbara's mosaics that dress up everyday pots.
She'd come out here with a hammer and break plates up in a bag and all that, and I thought, okay, I want to learn that. I can break plates. So she did a few little mosaics and made me the pro at putting the grout on afterwards. I thought, okay, I can grout them, I can break them.
He moved up from grouter to designer, turning plain concrete into art. But it was homeowner calamities that inspired David's wit.
And
So then you got the idea
I
too.
started mosaicing on the toilet. And then after a while, she had a plant growing in it, and I thought, now, I love water. Toilets do overflow. Maybe I can make this into a fountain. So I did. And then I did the mosaic along the front patio with all the koi and the little islands you walk on to get here. I love it when we're both doing projects at the same time. She'll be working over here and doing that, and I'll be working over here, and we'll both look at, oh, honey, that's beautiful, I love it. And she'll look at mine, and that feels so good. Out here together, making what we want to do ourselves, but enjoying it together. That's fun. Lay down.
Now, wouldn't you love to have that in your backyard? A zip line going through the treetops sounds wonderful, and you'll be able to visit that garden on the upcoming Pond and Garden Tour. And right now I'm joined by Michael and Terrie Lumsden from the Pond Society, and they're going to be telling us all about the tour. This is a big event now in the Austin area. Gosh, how many years has it been now that the tour's been going on?
I believe this is the 17th year.
17 years of people exploring each other's backyards, and this is going to be happening when?
It's on Saturday, June 11th, and Sunday, June 12th, from 9 to 5. Saturday is the North Tour, which is 12 ponds, and then Sunday is in the South with 11 ponds.
All right. So it's a 2-day event, and
Right.
it's geographically distributed, so people can be sure to visit all those that they want, and,
Right.
and you save them driving from one end of town to the other, which is great.
Right.
And a wide variety of gardens and ponds, as always, I'm sure.
Yes, we think it's important for people to see owner-built and professionally built, and formal and informal ponds, and just get a variety and be able to ask questions and learn in case they want to join this wonderful hobby.
And Terry, that's one of my favorite things about any garden tour is visiting with the owners and hearing their experiences. And with the Pond Society, there are a lot of practical tips you can learn.
Oh, absolutely. And the pond owners will be present, so all questions can be answered.
All right. So we've seen one, and that looks absolutely spectacular. We're going to give people a brief taste of some other ponds and give them an idea of the range of things that are going to be available. We're just going to talk about these in terms of geographic distribution. The first pond we're going to be talking about is in Leander. And this is this a professionally designed pond, or is this one that the owners did?
This is a professionally designed pond, and it's in Crystal Falls subdivision in Leander, west part of town. When you enter this subdivision, it truly is central Texas hill country. Large mesas and canyons, and of course, a lot of limestone.
Right.
This pond is very, very beautiful, very naturally landscaped. It's spotted with limestone, has a huge limestone bridge. Beautiful koi, gorgeous water lilies, both hardy and tropical, with lots of marginal plants. The area immediately surrounding the pond is landscaped in native and xeric plants, and then adjacent to the property is a beautiful contemporary labyrinth that was designed for walking and for meditation.
Right.
So this is a great property, and it's something that's well worth the drive.
Oh, yeah, well, I really like the look of this pond. I like the naturalistic feel that it has, and that single block of limestone for the bridge is really exceptional.
Beautiful.
So it looks like this will be a great one to visit. And so from Leander, we're now going to move to Northwest Hills, and this is your own pond, and you guys claim to be fish folk. Are the koi really the centerpiece of your pond?
Well, absolutely. We designed this pond primarily with koi in mind. We like the water lilies and all the other water plants and so forth. Those are lovely, and we have some. But this pond is designed for koi because we just love them. They're just so beautiful, they're graceful, they're sensitive, and there's really nothing else like them in our view, and that's why we have a pond. So our pond is a little different. It's deeper than most. It's from 3.5 to 5 feet deep.
Got to protect those fish.
That's right, and it's that really does two things. One is it keeps the water temperature more constant, and it's warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer, and it just doesn't change very fast. Secondly, they can get deep and avoid the predators, like the blue heron, and I mean that's the one that goes after everybody around here.
Right.
So the other thing is we've got a 5-chamber biological filter that's gravity flow, and that keeps the water pristine, and which the fish love, and it's very low maintenance, which I love.
Right.
Finally, go ahead.
And I was going to say that people can see that when they come out. They would see and you'll be able to explain all of that to them.
Absolutely.
And one of the features I really like about your pond too is that kind of the naturalistic edge that you've got with the stones that kind of bleed into the pond too, and that's out in kind of a shallow area, right?
Well, we built shelves into the pond for the plants and for the rocks.
Right.
With the rocks in the water, it's a little bit more natural look than if they're just around the edge. So
exactly.
That's what we've tried to have, a natural looking pond.
Right.
The other thing we have that is very important is we have a stream that's about 28 feet long, cascades over 4 waterfalls and into the pond, and the waterfalls then create the aeration that's critical for the fish.
Right.
And also for the biological filter.
Right, right. So this is going to be for the visitors who really want to learn about keeping fish healthy, and I think this would be cool for people who are really interested in the technology of the ponds as well.
Right.
This would be a great one to visit.
Thank you.
There's another one, and this looks absolutely spectacular to me. This is on the bluffs overlooking the city of Austin, close to Barton Springs Road.
Right.
And wow, I mean, talk about a cascade. This one is phenomenal.
This is a breathtaking property. Scott has 3 waterfalls, and one greets you at the entry, and then he has 2 ponds in the backyard that are absolutely breathtaking. The larger pond is, of course, home to his mini koi. It's 15,000 gallons. It has a magnificent waterfall, and then a rock wall where water emerges and keeps all the ferns and other water-loving plants healthy. He also has a bog for additional filtration with this pond. But I think perhaps the most dramatic feature of this property is the panoramic view of downtown Austin that you can see while luxuriating around his infinity edge pool. But it is absolutely breathtaking.
So should people bring their swimsuits?
Well, I tell you, it's certainly a temptation. It was for me anyway.
Well, it looks amazing. Just simply amazing. Beautiful property, stunning views, and I know it will be a real treat for people on the tour. The last pond that garden, I should say, we're going to be talking about is in the Lost Creek area. And again, an amazing cascade, stair-step kind of a waterfall on this one, and beautiful natural plantings.
This is really, if not the prettiest garden in Austin, it is certainly within the top 5. This garden features 3 waterfalls, and the backyard waterfall from the back to the front is about a 40 to 50 foot drop. 13 beautiful waterfalls that cascade into a pool and 2 ponds, and the larger pond, of course, is home to his koi. Mm-hmm. The back and the sides are all terraced, and I would say minimally, probably 1,000 different plants and many, many varieties.
Well, and I tell you, this is one that I understand that is completely built by the owner as well.
It is.
And that's so impressive.
It is. But the owner and 1 assistant works in this garden 60 hours a week. Now, they do have a lot of plants, but he has a 7,200 gallon rainwater harvest system, so that does help them somewhat with the watering.
Just a gorgeous property. I mean, I could see just kind of losing myself in this with the beautiful waterfalls and just the naturalistic plantings, overabundant, just exuberant kind of style plantings as well.
Absolutely exquisite. And really, photographs do not do justice to this property. You just have to go see it and experience it.
All right. Now, let's tell people how they can plug into the pond tour and pond and garden tour. Where are the tickets going to be available this year?
The tickets are available on our website, austinpondsociety.org. They're $15 in advance. You can buy them.
That's a bargain, I have to say.
It is a bargain.
Something like for 2 days?
For 2 days, it is a bargain.
Okay, yeah.
$20 if you can buy at any of the ponds day of. You can also buy in advance at several of the nurseries around town. And as you mentioned, it is a bargain, and you don't have to see all 23 ponds to get your money's worth.
Right.
Although we'd love for you to. But even if you can only see 4 or 5, you know, you still get your money's worth, so you can treat it
absolutely.
like a buffet.
All right. Well, Michael and Terry, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck with this year's Pond and Garden Tour.
Thank you.
We appreciate you stopping by. And coming up next is our friend Daphne.
Hi, and welcome to Down to Earth. I'm Daphne Richards. Our question this week is another great one from one of our viewers, Lisa. She's having problems with her annual vinca, which is commonly called periwinkle. This year, she planted those in April. She does plant them every year, but this year she's already replaced them 3 times, and each time all of the plants have died. Her symptoms are that first, the plants turn brownish and begin to wilt. She's also noticed ants around the stems of the plant and around the soil around the base of the plants that seems to be disturbed, as if the ants might be eating the roots. But Lisa did her research, which told her that ants don't usually eat plants, and that's correct. Actually, these plants and this example is a perfect example of rot. Unfortunately, this can be a very common problem with our heat-loving annuals, such as this periwinkle. When you plant those too early, when the soil temperatures are still very cool and the air is moist and cool in the spring, those plants tend to rot, especially our heat-loving ones that are more susceptible to diseases. But nurseries know that you're anxious to get out there and start planting, so they sell those plants as early as they possibly can when we start to get sunnier days in the spring, but we may still be too cool for them. The disease here is either Pythium or Phytophthora. Those are both soil-borne diseases known as water molds. These diseases have spores that are motile in water, And in the spring rain or by watering your plants from above, you can actually splash those spores onto your plant from the soil. Those spores are pretty much ubiquitous, and so the disease will remain in your soil. But you can prevent the problem in the future. First, don't plant periwinkle or other heat-loving annuals until our days are reliably in the 80s, and that's usually about mid to late May. Next, make sure you mulch around your plants. That separates them from the soil surface and thus from those disease spores. And be careful to water only the ground so that water doesn't splash from your soil onto your plant. Our plant this week is oregano. Many gardeners plant this herb in a kitchen garden with thyme and other herbs. But it's also a great plant in the landscape to use as a filler or a ground cover. You can plant oregano from seed from spring through fall. You can also plant transplants that will fill in more quickly. Most varieties get no taller than 12 to 14 inches, including the bloom spike. But oregano does spread very easily, so they usually do eventually fill the entire space that you give them. I have oregano planted along my front entry, and it spills out onto the sidewalk, softening the harshness of the concrete. Occasionally I do have to trim it back so that it doesn't get trampled. To do in your garden this week, you can go ahead and plant some okra. It's still time to plant that heat-loving vegetable. We'd love to hear from you, so please visit klru.org/CTG to send us your question of the week or a plant from your garden.
Thanks, Daphne. Now let's check in with John Dromgoole for Backyard Basics.
Hello gardening friends, welcome to Backyard Basics. You know, in the summertime, even in the spring when the wind's blowing, and also in the winter, the plants just desiccate, they dry out. And there are products out there. There are several products out there. This is an example of one of them. This one's called wilt proof, but there are many others out there. And they're made of plant material too, like a pine extract. And so when you're going to go out of town, or when you just transplanted something and you don't want it to dry out, you spray something like this wilt proof on the leaves. And so it covers the foliage and stops the water loss. Very simple, very effective, and very beneficial. So whether it's trees and shrubs, whatever it is that's going out there, perennials, even some of your vegetable plants, it's that nice, it's that organic, it is an organic product, really stops the water loss down. So you can imagine when you're putting some color out there or vegetables, you spray the foliage of it and it stops some of that stress. I think it's a very important item. It's all natural. And if you're going on vacation and you just did some transplanting, this is the ideal way to save those plants. This one's called wilt proof. Cloud cover's another one, and you'll find many other ones out there, and they all do the same thing. They stop the water loss through the leaves. As a matter of fact, in the Christmas season, you can spray your Christmas tree, and it stops the water loss through the tree, giving it much more protection and resistant to fire. Although it won't stop a fire, it's a good way to keep the needles on there. So this product right here, I think, is really beneficial. It doesn't like to be used for houseplants. Not all of them are going to respond properly to this little oil sprayed onto the foliage. And so that's one of the things that I would be concerned about. And that's why I have two items here. This is another one. It's called Vacation. And this can be used on transplants of vegetables going in the ground. It can be used on houseplants. It does a wonderful job on houseplants. Here's this little watermelon peperomia. You drench the root system. Here's a calathea. These are two water users. These guys could dry out rather easily. So if you want to go out of town for a week or so, you'll spray the different plants soil. You'll either drench it or you'll spray the soil in there, and it protects the root system, sending a signal to stop the water loss through the leaves also. So here are two good products with a lot of value for you that can protect houseplants, whether it's a big Schefflera or a little plant like these. And when you come home after 2 weeks, they're still going to be in good shape. I used it one time when I couldn't plant some tomatoes in a timely fashion, so I went out there and drenched them. 10 days, 2 weeks later, they were still in the great shape that I left them in. So I find this to be a great value for your house plants, in the vegetable garden, or anywhere you might need it to keep plants from losing all of their water in a short period of time. For Backyard Basics, I'm John Dromgoole. I'll see you next week.
Visit klru.org/CTG to watch online, get more tips, and read our blog. Next week, find summer romance and tips for hot weather lovers. Until then, I'll see you in the garden.
To learn about today's program, watch online, and follow CTG's blog, check out klru.org/CTG.
Support for Central Texas Gardener comes from GeoGrowers, offering custom soil blends for lawns, gardens, xeriscaping, and organic landscaping supplies. More information at geogrowers.net.